Now, we're going to take you back to 1876.
That's a spirit.
September. To Northfield, Minnesota, when the James Younger gang tried to hold up the bank in Northfield. Now, when they held up the banks in the Southern sympathetic, the Confederacy sympathetic states, people just sort of turned a blind eye, and they weren't really pursued anymore. But the people in Minnesota weren't that way. So when they tried to rob the bank, it was pretty much the end of the Northfield, Minnesota, or of the Jesse James Younger gang. Now, one of the things that people notice is that the bad guys are right out in the middle, out in the open. But only 2 of them were killed in town. And that's true. They were out in the open, and they had everybody in the Western Hemisphere practically shooting at them, but there were only 2 of them killed in town. I guess the townspeople with good intentions weren't great shots. But anyway, the only thing we can't do is the horses. So, without further ado, oh, and by the way, this is the very first time this show has been done for an audience. So without messing around anymore, the great Northfield, Minnesota raid. Places, please.
In 1876, Wyatt Earp was a little-known policeman in a Kansas cow town. Billy the Kid was still Henry McCarty of Brooklyn, New York. Bat Masterson was an unknown 22-year-old buffalo hunter. George Armstrong Custer and Wild Bill Hickok both died in 1876, and the name Jesse James was known in every household in every town in the Midwestern United States. Pursued by the Pinkertons, romanticized by the press, tolerated and protected by the people in an area where loyalty to the former Confederacy had dimmed little since the end of the war between the states, the James Younger gang had roamed relatively unmolested for several years. In September of 1876, however, their luck ran out. Earlier that year, the gang decided to expand their operations farther afield and robbed the First National Bank of Northfield, Minnesota, a state not sympathetic to the Southern cause. September 7th, 1876, a Thursday, a day much like any other in Northfield, the town residents go about their daily lives. Joseph Haywood heads back to the First National Bank after a short meal break. Haywood has been left in charge while the bank president attends the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia. Henry Wheeler, a medical student, home on summer vacation, on his way to his father's pharmacy. J.S. Allen, hardware merchant. Alonzo Bunker, a teller at the First National. A.R. Manning, carpenter and blacksmith, longtime resident of Northfield. Nicholas Gustafson, newly arrived immigrant from Sweden. None of these, nor any of the other townspeople, know that the peaceful routine of Northfield is about to be shattered like a glass bottle thrown against a boulder. From the west side of town come Bob Younger, Charlie Pitts and Frank James. Having tethered their horses behind the bank, they draw little attention as they stroll up the street. From the south come two more men, Cole Younger and Clell Miller walk leisurely toward the bank. The last of the gang to arrive are Jim Younger, Bill Chadwell, and Jesse James. These men are the rear guard. They are to cover the outlaws' escape. At about 2:15 on this cloudy afternoon, the stage is set and the drama about to unfold.
Your hands. Open that safe. It's got a time lock. It can't be opened. That's a lie.
Clear the streets. The bank's been... Get it, Cal. What's going on?
After this episode with Mr. Bunker, the outlaws decide to give up the money and get out of town.
Oh, the bank's on a time lock. We can't get in the safe.
Mr. Allen, who first sounded the alarm, has been passing out guns and ammunition from the back of his store to anyone willing to fight the outlaw gang.
All right, let's go, Frank.
As it began, the battle is over. Two outlaws lay dead in the street. Of those who escaped, all but Jesse are wounded, and the money in the bank is safe. The once powerful and seemingly indestructible James Younger gang is no more. It has died on the streets of Northfield, Minnesota, and it has died in vain. But victory over the outlaw band has not come without cost. In the bank lies the body of J.L. Haywood, and on the street, Nicholas Gustafson, whose only transgression against the would-be robbers was not understanding English. 2 weeks later, 4 of the 6 gang members who escaped are caught near Medalia. Charlie Pitts is killed, and all 3 Youngers are captured and sent to prison for life. Jesse and Frank James escaped. They were forced into temporary retirement by the defeat at Northfield. They made a few attempts to revive the gang with new members, but met with limited success.
He's had a
On April 3rd of 1882, the epic saga of the James Younger gang came to a brutal end. Jesse Woodson James, hero to many, villain to others, was killed in his own home by Robert Ford. The final chapter was written, the book closed. And the Arizona Gunfighters have brought you another episode from our historic past.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that, folks. I was standing back there listening to all that gunfire and said, oh boy. All right, well, thank you for coming.